The way it works virtually for my class is every morning I would have stuff posted for the day if I'm virtual as well. So like this is obviously assuming that that would happen to us, but I post everything the morning of. I post a video. The attendance quiz is kind of the big one, is going online and doing the attendance every day. It's usually a question about what the previous day notes or something. And then the homework is posted. So those three things every day you're looking for. So it'll be like a video of notes. The note packets I'll always post on there electronically, like a blank version. But if you don't have a printer, you can always just write it on loosely. And I highly suggest taking the notes because we've talked about this before. Anytime you write something down, it's getting into your memory stronger. You just sit and listen to it. It's not going to be as concrete to you. It's just you're not going to remember it. So I would highly suggest taking notes, even if things like this. Waste of time, it is helpful if you don't feel like it. So those three things every day, predictable, but it makes it a little bit easier. The big thing is the attendance quiz, and that's the same thing if you guys are ever virtual and I'm here. The students who are virtual right now go online every day and do an attendance quiz. That way I know that they've at least gone into my folder for the day. I don't make you guys meet live Google Meets, but I'm always welcome and open to those. So just let me know if you ever need to talk to me, get help. I can do that, or I can just answer emails that way too. So flexible. So I try to give you guys a little bit of freedom with time, but sometimes it's not good for certain students. So let's go to number 5. And the big thing with 5 is the liters and milliliters, probably. So in 5, you have 6 liters to 10 milliliters. And before you guys left yesterday, I mentioned that there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So if you didn't realize that, so that means 6 liters would be 6,000 milliliters. So then we put those as a fraction, and then the zeros just cancel out. So it's 10 milliliters to 1 milliliter. Number 9 is 3 pounds to 10 ounces. So pounds are LB, whatever reason why, I don't know. 10 ounces. So again, I've written down that 1 pound is 16 ounces. So I would change pounds to ounces. So 3 pounds is going to be 3 times 16, which is going to be 48, right? So 48 ounces compared to 10 ounces. And then I just want to simplify that. It wants us to simplify the ratio. I can divide these each by 2. So 24 to 5. That'd be the simplified ratio. And then 13, it said width to length. And again, it's centimeters and meters. So we talked about this yesterday, that 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So this would be 1,000 centimeters instead. And then just depending on what you put on top. So 320 over 1,000 or 1,000 over 320, just again, depending on what you guys call the width and the length. So I know already I can cancel out the zeros. Then 32 over 1,000, I can divide those, or 100, you can divide those both by 2, or they can be divided by 4. 16 over 50, divided by 2 again, so 8 over 25. So either way. Other questions at all? Okay, so I'll get you guys our notes for today. I have my computer, but I can math. Music is really big. Bitch. We're doing more with proportions today. I have a Kahoot for us today as our phrase. I'm going to open a drink and then drink. You want to leave one for Mrs. Miller? Come on, take a minute, look at the warm-up question portion there. We can solve this proportion. And it looks like a lot of you guys were able to do that. Looking around quickly here. You want to cross multiply and set equal. Pretty good. The big thing when we do this is that 4 has to be multiplied to both the 8 and the 3. So you want to use parentheses to help you remember that. Now the 1 times the 10a plus 6, obviously the 1 really isn't, nothing really happens with that, but you put it outside the parentheses. This would be 10a plus 6. So then we want to get our a's together, so we're going to move that 4a over. And then move the 6 back over. So then we find out that a just has to be 1. Now, sometimes with some of these, you might see a pattern or see something that jumps out at you that you figure out you can do as a shortcut, and that's perfectly fine. If you notice those things, some of my students in my other class were pointing out, like when they saw something that was just easy to notice, like what it should be, that's fine. I think just straightforward going and cross multiplying, I know it works every time, but if you see a pattern and kind of a shortcut, that's fine with me. So, we're going to talk about some different properties of proportions today. It sounds like a tongue twister. And we're gonna apply some proportion problems to what we're gonna be doing. Like I said, about mid-notes we'll do a Kahoot break. Actually, let's maybe start with those. So let's go, flip over to example 3. So if you go to example 3, kind of a 2-part problem. And I feel like this was a lot more applicable years ago when we used maps, like paper maps. You probably don't use paper maps very often anymore, or at all. I think just growing up, I still like them. Like I like traveling and I like looking at a map. But I think Google Maps is amazing. So we don't really have to worry about that quite as much anymore. But so on a map, 2 cities are 96 miles from each other. If we're looking at a map, they're not going to be 96 miles apart on the map because the map's not that big. So on a map, depending on the scale of the map, they're only 4 inches apart. So they want us to find the scale of a map. So if you look back at a map from years ago, in the corner you would see like a little scale that would say like 1 inch is however many miles, feet, whatever it happens to be. So then you would take and you'd say, oh, this is about how many inches apart, and you figure out the mileage. So if 2 cities are 96 miles from each other, and they're 4 inches apart on the map, we want to figure out the scale of the map. So this time we're not going to actually switch the units over. So I'm not going to use the fact that 5,280 feet is a foot for a mile and then figure out how many inches it's supposed to be. We just want the scale. How many miles compared to inches? So when I look at this map and know that an inch, actually this is something also that I knew as a kid, was that like the tip of your finger is about an inch. It's kind of like the first couple nodes on your finger. It's kind of a way to measure on a map. We get a road trip, I'd be measuring how far until we get to our next place. We can divide these each by 4. So in 1 inch, 96 divided by 4 is 24 miles. So it's about that far, 24 miles on our little map. So then it says, if 2 cities are 6.5 inches apart on the map, how far apart are the city in miles? So we're going to set up a proportion for this, or kind of an idea here with trying to figure out and you're going to figure out that you could do this without setting up a proportion. But if I have 24 miles in 1 inch for my scale, and I have 6.5 inches, I want to know how many miles that would be in real life. Now again, you probably don't need a proportion for this. If you're just like, well, why didn't you just multiply by 24? This is just kind of showing that the proportion tells us to do that. Then I'm going to take 6.5 and multiply by 24. So I'm going to find out the cities are 156 miles apart. And every map has different scales depending on what they're all trying to fit onto a certain size paper. So that scale idea is something that comes up quite a bit. All right, so we're going to vote here, or we're going to do a little tabulation. So we're going to use us as a survey sample. So in this class, there are 5, 10, 15, I'll count myself, 16 people in here. Count me as a student today. Whoops. So So there were 16 students in here. I'll be a student today. How many of us have pets? So you're gonna raise your hand. We should probably do the not pet count. Everyone's got a pet? Oh, well, this is, you do? You did, well, okay. So I'm sorry, as sad as this is, I think I might keep you out for today. So, and I feel like this is different than every other school I've ever taught at. This is a high percentage. We'll go 15 out of 16 that have a pet. So, because if it was 100%, it would be the worst problem ever, because then it would be very interesting. So there's 250 students at the high school. How many students should have pets if we use our class as a sample size? So yeah, it's a lot of people have pets here. So we're gonna use this as our sample. So 15 have pets out of a total of 16. And 250 total students, we can figure out how many have pets. And that's the way they do samples. That's kind of the way, just talking about the election recently, when they did polling results, when they asked people as they were leaving a polling place, it's not like they were actually counting votes at that moment. They were just asking people. So we're asking you guys, how many of us have pets? And then kind of predicting the information up. Now, I'm going to err to say that this is a little bit lopsided. Again, because that's a lot. That's more than I think I've ever had in a class that's a lot of students that have pets. And maybe that is the case. We live a little more rural than other places I've taught. So maybe that makes a difference. So I'm going to cross multiply, set equal, and divide by 16. So about 234.375. Can we have part of a student? No, don't name any names. No one's part of a student. So I would round down. That means, like I said, I think our sample size here might not be. This might not be the best representation, because that is a pretty high number. That means only, whatever, what is that, 16 students out of the whole school don't have pets. That sounds a little bit lopsided. So maybe this is kind of like some of those exit polls that they were saying for the election, where people were like, we're good, and then it didn't go the way they thought. That's that idea, is that sometimes a smaller sample isn't maybe the best prediction. Or maybe this is the case, I don't know. So I would assume that that's a little bit high. So this is a lot of times how they do research, which obviously shows some flaws, like that maybe we're not getting the best predictor. So why don't we do our Kahoot break, and we'll go back to the other part of notes here after that. So you probably want scratch paper or whiteboard. And then also a calculator. There's a lot of proportions in our Kahoot. So you probably want both a whiteboard or a scratch paper or something like that, and a calculator. If you don't think you can see the screen from where you are, maybe move more to the center of the room. Waiting on a few more people, I think. Puffy over. Oh, and do you want me to, but you're not on there. I mean, put your last initial or something then too, I don't know, or capitalize or, there you go. We have a few more still. Oh, why don't you try going in? Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like our numbers are still pretty off. Like, completely like pull it back and go out. Now you're on. Okay. Well, probably if you had, okay, we're gonna get started. Remember this from yesterday, so geometric mean. So you set it up as opposite parts of the fraction. There's not just 3 seconds, there's still like a minute, don't worry. More than a minute. Alright, so again, this is the one where you put the 4 and 6 or 4 and 9 on opposite ends of the proportion and then you cross multiply. Be really quick to do that just so I think there's other questions like this. we cross multiply, so this is x squared equals 36, and we take the square root. It's all geometric mean asks us to do. Oh, this is a word problem, sorry. They outscored their opponents 5-2 last season. If their opponent scored 38 points, how many points did they score? Outscored them 5-2 last season. If the opponent scored 38, how many points did they score? Hopefully you were able to eliminate a couple of questions or a couple of parts right away. So in this case, so 5-2, and then the opponents are 38, and so big total would be x, then you cross multiply, set equal. Hopefully you were eliminating the ones where they didn't score enough, so. Then you should have plenty of time. You try shutting your computer completely down. Now. You can go to the bottom. I'm just going to other websites. So you see on the bottom, so this is grade 3.
Yeah, that's bad.
5, 9, yeah. Cross multiply, set equal. This is probably one also you could have probably done with the shortcuts. So the fact that 7 times 8 gives us 56, so 3 times 8 would give us 24. Works as well.
Oh, I know this one. They can.
Who named the flower like you?
Shut up. It's a good album.
You can guess.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it is me.
Yes, sir.
Oh, did I do a lead change? Sorry, knocked you out of the lead.
Yes, sir.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Stay in there. There's gonna be other questions, so you guys will be okay.
Don't stand there,
If
guys.
that's the only one you get wrong, I'll still give you a 3. And you should have plenty of time. There's still like 100 seconds left. Michael, you're cheating.
No.
What are you doing?
I'm using the internet as my calculator.
Oh. You know, like your laptop has a calculator, like faster.
No, I'm not going off right here.
Okay, so work, you guys.
Fastest typer in the world.
So David paints 3 rooms in 7 hours. At the same pace, how long would it take him to paint 15 rooms? 3 rooms in 7 hours. How long would it take him to paint 15 rooms? He's working at the same pace.
What? Stop laughing at it. It's not funny.
I hate those problems where they're like, 2 people are painting together, and then like, how much would each of them paint? That's like, so this is a little more straightforward than that.
Oh my god. Alright, we're just gonna hold it down. This one.
No.
Oh, I'm still there. I'm still in it. I'm still in it. No. You guys need fast calculators.
Type it into Google.
Go. Go nation. Go nation. What is the biggest island in the world? Yeah. Yeah.
I think based off the other choices, it's pretty obvious.
Oh. We're rising. We're rising.
Cuba's kind of little, by the way.
Guys, we are rising. And we're on fire. Confirm.
Again, you have plenty of time, 2 minutes for the question.
Some you can't even. Some you can't even match. Never even know. Alright, back to the grind. Okay, literally. That's it.
Hey, Minesweeper.
Well, my computer does not register my right clicks.
Okay, so this one, you guys, you have to cross multiply and set equals. So you have to do 3 times x minus 2 equals 18. So 3x minus 6 has to equal 18. Move the 6 over. So 3x equals 24. So x has to be 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 cans of root beer for $2.50. How many cans of root beer can you buy for $10? Root beer.
Right. Oh, it's in my name.
Let's see.
That's the point. No.
Oh, wait, right? Here we go.
I'm really struggling with this.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that's you crap. They disrespect sometimes.
Oh, you don't want 2 X's. You have 6 cans of root beer for $2.50.
Oh.
I would put that for 6. The 6 isn't a number up there. We have about 10 seconds. A little over.
You okay?
Oh.
Oh, shoot.
Alright.
Guys, don't worry. Don't worry.
Require a little work.
Almost close that one down. Where's those plus buttons? There it is. Yeah, I definitely did not feel this way. No. Well, I don't even need to talk to it. You want to watch? Tracks. Ice in my veins. Oh, that's what I was teaching. So if you got that on.
I have season 4. It's like, I put that in instead of 14.
Okay, all I have to do is maintain power for 1 second. Minimal.
Be like Michael and see how fast your Google skills are.
I just spelled like 5 words. Oh my gosh, guys, come on. Come on, guys.
Oh, we're still there.
You're not gonna see me, but just know, I'm at 5th place.
Well, fifth place comes up on the bottom of the.
Yo!
Tammy,
It disappeared, Michael.
Halloween.
This is hard work.
Michael, I can't believe you got.
Feels good.
Someone put my hand on that wall.
Those of you guys who did not win, I do have, the cards here.
Ooh. Yeah, someone sabotaged my Someone sabotaged my mouth.
That's good.
I can't open it.
Michael, go like this. And jam it on.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey guys, if you did not win, I feel a little bad about the Taylor Swift questions, so come on up and grab a cookie talk if you guys would like one. They're just the little ones. So leaderboard winners could grab a treat if you'd like. I actually only knew that question, we've been watching, because lately in our house, so.
That's not about. Michael, how does hard work on you?
I'm joking, Mom.
Thanks.
Putting the work that I'm gonna be able to store tomorrow, but. Fine.
You're a writer. All right. So if you guys can flip back to the front side. it on, he always says he can't fit through the doorways in our house. Our house is very small, but he tries to say that he's too wide for the doorway.
So he goes sideways?
No, he just tries to say that he is. Okay. Okay, so guys, there's some kind of bizarre properties that work with proportions, that from time to time make sense to do these things. So these are some different properties that we can use. Now you won't have to know the names of these, so they're just kind of explaining what's happening. So the reciprocal property means that you can flip both fractions and the property still remains the same. You might want to like give yourself a little space between each of these just to kind of keep them separated. So the reciprocal property, reciprocal is when we flip. So if this is a true statement, we can flip both fractions and it's still true. So what we can do is flip both fractions over. So this is also true. Now I'll show you guys with actual numbers and maybe it'll make a little more sense. So if I have, sorry, I don't know if I have enough space though, right, too big. So if I have 1 over 4 equals 2 over 8, we agree that's a true proportion, right? Then I could flip both of those over. So that is also true. So kind of trying to show you guys with numbers how it works. The next one says you can interchange the means. The means are basically, so when we talk about the geometric mean, they're just one of the diagonals. So you can switch one diagonal. So I'm going to switch like the B and C. Again, I'll show you guys an example with actual numbers here. So I'll use the one we used up there. So if I have 1 over 4 equals 2 over 8, I can switch one of the diagonals. So that's also true. The last one's kind of a bizarre one. It's what it kind of says right here is that you add the denominator. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. You basically take the denominator and add it onto the top. And again, I'll show you an example of that with numbers. So if I have 1 over 4 equals 2 over 8, then I'm going to add the denominator onto the top. So I get 1 plus 4 over 4 equals 2 plus 8 over 8. We're going to look at what that looks like. So that means 5 over 4 equals 10 over 8, and that's true. That's just an example of how that works. Kind of weird and bizarre that that works that way, but it does. they want us to start with this example where they tell us this ratio. So they tell us AB compared to DE equals AC over DF. So I'm going to fill in all the information I know. So I'm going to take this information and put it, into that fraction. And they want us to write 4 true proportions. So this is going to be my first one. So we'll start with this one. So AB is 12. DE is 9. So you guys see where I'm getting that from? The proportion versus the side lengths. AC is 8. And that should equal DF. Now they're not asking us to solve this. They just want us to write the proportions. So the first one we're going to do is the reciprocal property. So that's the top one there. So I'm going to call it RP, just so that we kind of reference that up there. The reciprocal property. That means I can flip both of these. So 9 over 12 equals x over 8. That's also true. And the book is going to ask you guys to do this for your homework, so that's what I'm trying to show you how that looks. The next one is we're going to interchange the means. So going back to the original one, we're going to switch just one of the diagonals. It doesn't matter which one. So x over 9 equals 8 over 12. So I switch the one diagonal. And finally, the last one is where I add the denominator. So I'm going to take that denominator and add it onto the top. So they're not asking us to do anything with it, they just ask us to write it 4 different ways. And your homework assignment is going to ask you guys to do something similar. I mean, you want to do this a bunch of times, but at least once, I think. All right, so if you guys flip the page over, we only have the one example left. So it says in the diagram, SV over VT equals SU over UR. Now, we're going to end up using proportions this way a lot later in this chapter. So this is kind of inching our way into that. So they give us SV, which is, they tell us that is 8. So I'm going to put 8 on top of the fraction. Then they ask us to find VT, which is this. But you need to be careful there. Because VT is not x. You guys see that? X is this whole way across is x, or is x. So what would VT be then? Yeah, go right through.
X minus 8.
Yeah, it's the whole thing x, and then we're just taking away that little 8. Very good. So this VT is going to be x minus 8. Because the whole thing is x, the little piece there is going to be x minus 8. And again, I'm putting that based off of this fraction. Then they say SU, which is this little piece, which is 12. And then UR, which is this 28. So we should be able to solve this proportion based off the information they gave us. Eight times 28 should be 224, I think. Then I want to get my x alone, so I'm going to move that 96 over. ends up being 26.7, not a very nice number. That's okay. But we're not done yet. We need to figure out ST and VT. So ST is this whole thing. So that's our X value. So that's 26.7 is ST. And then VT is here. So I have to take the X value and take away 8 from it. 18.7. Alright, questions there at all? Okay, so homework is listed there for you guys. And you know, if you guys are having any issues with things, again, I will reach out to you if I need to see you tomorrow. Again, only if you're doing poorly will I need that. Let me know. If you do want to see me tomorrow and I didn't request you, you can always send me a message as well. So those of you guys online as well, if you're doing poorly, I'll reach out to you to set up a Google Meet. Oh, I don't think the book is open online yet. Yeah.